I'm Howard Berger from Realcomm, and I'm pleased to be here with my two guests here today, Ilan Zachar, Chief Technology Officer at Carr Properties, and Aaron Altscher, Director of CRE Technology Initiatives at Carr Properties. I just got to tell you, these two gentlemen have been leading technology and innovation at Carr Properties in DC, and over the years, we have been privileged to have them share some of their outstanding work with the Realcomm community. So first of all, I want to share a sincere thank you for your thought leadership and your willingness to share, in a very open way, your work. And it's not, some folks, they just want to share the high points and the wins and the glitzy stuff. You guys are willing to share to really share the real deal, the challenges and how you've overcome them. Whereas not everyone always does that. And you guys have been contributors to webinars and our educational sessions. So I really just want to say thank you, for being there and really helping educate our community. I know there's a huge focus on data. Everyone talks about data. I think we're seeing, we've come to a point in the industry where there's so much talk about it. There's a consciousness that it's important, but very few folks really know what to do with it once they've got it, or to really create an architecture where they can do something with it in the future. Unless folks are involved with data like you are all the time, they find themselves in a position where they're inundated with it, and very little happens. Big question: now that you guys are instrumented in collecting data for a variety of different projects, how are you guys? What are some of the insights you're getting? What are you doing with it? Let's talk a little bit about how you set up a data strategy first, and then maybe, and I'm going to let you guys talk a little bit about the different programs that you've got and what you've been doing with them.
Sure. I'll start off. At Carr, we started our data project through the need of reporting. So it used to take a very long time to put together reports, and our operations team really needed help on gathering the data and really processing the information. Understanding then the different types of data sets, or the different inputs that are coming from, or outputs that are coming from the building, we then said, well, we can do a lot more. And that's when Aaron came into the picture, into really gathering the data. But even then, gathering the data was not enough. We needed to find create a data model, maybe an ingestion capabilities of our information, and then how do we then move that cycle to another data set, and then another data set, and then get better as we're going through. And I'll let Aaron maybe talk a little bit more on how we actually achieve that.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So we build everything around this common data model that all new data sets kind of roll up underneath. And back to Ilan's point where he kicked us off, when ops came to us and needed better insight for utilization data and maintenance data, we had to see how those simple data sets tied together in terms of property, customer, portfolio. So we used that as a jumping off point for a strategy to take on new data sets and grow under that kind of cohesive approach. So it all makes sense as we grow the program.
Mm-hmm. I've been sensing a real opportunity in terms of ingesting real-time location data and marrying that to a lot of this, the sensor data that we have. Have you guys been looking at that? It just seems to me that there are layers and layers of intelligence that we can drive when we have time-sensitive and time incremented real-time location data that can be married from anything from parking to movement to tracking indoor air quality.
One of the good things of being a small company is that we can play with a lot of information and we can play with a lot of toys, but at the same time we also have the benefit that if it doesn't work, we can let it go. And we did embark on a more of a geo-encoded environment of all of our amenity spaces, and Aaron has been working with it a lot with regards to trying to pinpoint locations of our sensors in specific locations in the building and be able to get real-time analytics from that, from the geolocations up there. But we haven't had that great response just because of the rendering of the imagery that has to come afterwards with the data, and rendering the data becomes a lot more complicated.
Yeah, with utilization in the space, we're fortunate enough to have a couple of new tools in our company. One is indoor air quality that we have down to the floor and space level, and then also most recently people counting cameras that we're going to get very accurate counts of people within the base building and then people within specific amenity spaces in the property to understand utilization, return rate, and how that affects the indoor air quality environment.
So are you using Beacon or other Beacon, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or are you using video for people counting? Yeah.
It's a video. It's a video. It's a two-camera that sits on top, but we mesh them. We mesh it in zones. So we have the gym, the rooftop, and then the entrance. And the entrance can be 4 different locations within the building, but they're all grouped into one to give us an actual accurate occupancy rate at any given time of the day.
How do you? Just a technical question. I mean, how do you analyze the data from a video feed? Over time, there's a lot going on. That there's a lot of data. That must be a process in itself. How do you guys tackle that?
It's a line crossing, right?
Yep. Yeah, as a human crosses over the line, it gets counted and counts, accrue in a database, and then we develop certain views of the data, how we want to see it. And as Ilan mentioned, the zones of the building, like we have a base building zone that has 4 or 5 cameras that all contribute to a base building count. So you can keep, current occupancy numbers accurate.
But it uses camera technology to actually, because the cameras are offset, so you can actually get directions from it. You can get multiple people counts, and you can define zones of how long people are within specific areas and understand if they're coming in, they're leaving, or if they're just hovering around and then walking away, but never really committing to the space.
Right, and it can discern if 3 people are crossing the line at the same time. That is 3 people, not just.
It will count.
So
yes.
It has that. Yeah. So I mean, you guys have been doing this for quite a while. Built a really cohesive architecture, data and analytics architecture. Can you share some of the benefits and share some of the ROI from some of the data initiatives that you guys have undertaken?
Go ahead.
Sure. So, during the pandemic, as we initially embarked on this crazy time, we were very quickly able to provide data to our operators to say these spaces are occupied, these spaces are not, so they could throttle back services, they could throttle back energy, energy utilization, things like that, and a number of other examples.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now the data we're leveraging the data to building automation, because understanding where the peak load of that people are in the building times of the day. I mean, we can tell you today that across the portfolio, some buildings are more busy on a Tuesday versus some others are on a Wednesday, and we then can now maybe incorporate building automation into it, where our BMS, EMS systems into it, in order to maybe fine-tune and regulate everything within the building using that.
I think in prior conversations you had mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys have actually built some automation tools to help analyze and discover insights within the data. Could you talk a little bit about
Sure,
what those tools look like?
So phase 1 of utilizing or getting benefit out of our data was just visualizing it. So we have a BI platform that presents the data nicely, but can't stop there. So most recently, we're working with an automation tool that allows us to set those triggers, thresholds, and then make action out of that automation. And
And that reduces a lot of the
noise,
sheer volume of.
Exactly, and it doesn't. It's a proactive way of utilizing the data versus reactive. You have to log in and view, and with automation, you can simply look at it as generating an alert or an email to someone, and then next to integrate into existing work order tools and workflow tools that we currently have in place.
So I guess the message is for folks who are just embarking on a data strategy, being inundated with data. There are tools out there that can help you really make sense of it. So don't let that stop you. I think we're out of time, guys. But this has been great.
Thank you.
Always love.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Some of the great stuff that you guys have going.
Thank you.
Pleasure.